friends, welcome back to the channel. So in this video I will be taking you guys along with me to practice question number 1 and question number 2 on the reading section of your TOEFL exam. But before you hop on to the next section of this video, I would recommend watching this video link somewhere above over here and down in the description below to know what techniques I will be using to tackle these two questions, so it becomes more easier to you to follow me along the next part of the video. So let's get right into it. For question number 1, and as I mentioned earlier, they are always going to mention the paragraph that they're going to ask the question about, so you don't have to skim through the entire passage to find answer to a particular question that just carries 1 mark. Okay, question number 1 says, according to paragraph number 1, where did Charles Darwin begin to observe and formulate the basis of his theory of evolution? So as we learned in the course earlier on, that we're going to read the question first, then we're going to search for the keyword in the question, and then once we find the keyword, we're going to go back to the passage that is mentioned in the question and find the same keyword in that passage. Once we find the keyword in the passage, we're going to read the entire sentence that has the keyword in it, and then we're going to make a rough answer in our head and come back to the answer choices, look at the answer choices, and then select the best one, select the one that is closest to the answer that we made in our head. So let's get started. According to paragraph number 1, where did Charles Darwin begin to observe and formulate the basis of his theory of evolution? Now we're not going to look at the answer choices yet, we're going to find the keyword. So the keyword over here would be observe and formulate, because they're basically asking where did Charles Darwin in his theory begin to observe and formulate the entire basis of his theory. So we will look for words like observe or formulate. So going back to paragraph number 1, So going back to paragraph number 1, here we are. Now we're going to skim through the entire paragraph and search for formulate or observe. In this book, theories based on assumptions, has shaped in his life. Okay, so I see foundation over here, and remember we were looking for observe or formulated kind of words. So where did Charles Darwin begin to observe and formulate the basis of his theory of evolution? And in paragraph number 1, we skimmed to the entire paragraph and we have found while also establishing himself within the scientific community. Okay, so here's the keyword over here, the closest in meaning to the word that the word that is closest in meaning to the keyword that we found in the question is foundation over here. Formulate and foundation approximately have the same meaning in this context. So we're going to read the entire sentence that has the keyword in it. Because of his experience abroad Beagle, he laid the foundation for his theory of evolution while also establishing himself within the scientific community. Full stop. So from this, we found out that he laid the foundation for his theory while also establishing himself within the scientific community, but he did this because of his experience abroad the Beagle. So let's go back to our answer choices in question number 1 and see what is it closest in meaning to. Medical school, there is no talk about medical school in that paragraph, so that's a no-no. Observing horse breeders, there's no talk about horse breeders or anything like that in that sentence, so that's out of context. England, there is nothing like that in the sentence either. Abroad, the HMS Beagle, so this is the closest in meaning to the answer that we had in our head, because in paragraph number 1, we just learned that he laid the foundation for his theory of evolution just because of his experience abroad the Beagle. So the answer choice for question number 1 would be abroad the Beagle. There we go. Boom. Question number 2. The word postulated in paragraph number 1 is closest in meaning to. So they have given us a screenshot of paragraph number 1 over here as well, so we don't have to go back to paragraph number 1. So postulated. Now over in this question, postulated is the keyword. We're not going to look at the answer choices just yet. We're going to go back to paragraph number 1 and read the sentence with the keyword in it. So over here, it's this sentence right here. In his book, Darwin postulated different species shared characteristic of common ancestors, that they branched off from common ancestors as they evolved, and that new trait and characteristics were a result of natural selection. So in his book, Darwin postulated different species. So the answer that I would have in my head would be something like, because I don't know what the word postulated actually means in dictionary. If you know that already, you can go ahead and look at the answer choices, but I don't know what this word means. So I will think about other words that I would fit over here, and it would give this sentence the same meaning. So in his book, Darwin postulated different species shared characteristics of common ancestors. So maybe it means in his book, Darwin has proposed different species, he has given an idea that different species shared the same characteristics of common ancestors, that they branched off from common ancestors as they evolved. So I think it's, if I put in the word Darwin proposed or Darwin thought, I think this would give the sentence the same meaning. So let's go ahead and make an answer choice in our head, something like Darwin proposed or Darwin thought. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and look at the answer choices. Number one is disagree. This is entirely out of context. It's a no. Darwin proved. They're not talking about how he they're not if you put proof over here in the place of postulate, it wouldn't make sense. So I don't think it's going to be proof. Oppose, there is nothing like that in this sentence. Hypothesize, so like I mentioned, the word that I had in my mind from postulated was Darwin proposed or Darwin thought. And hypothesize has a meaning of a theory that is in earlier stages of being accepted. So I think the best answer choice to that is most related to the answer in my head would be hypothesize, and that's D for question number 2.